This video was produced based on an article by Lingshan Hermit. All rights reserved. Any infringement will be prosecuted. According to past Vajrayana masters, Vajrayana is an art of transforming perception, the art of transforming our perception of the world, of ourselves, of all phenomena. Every time I say that Vajrayana is the art of transforming perception, someone asks, I don't understand why we need to transform our perception. What benefit does transforming our perception bring? Is there something wrong with our current perception? First of all, this is a good question. The characteristic of a good question is that it always triggers much meaningful contemplation and discussion. These contemplations are the only path leading us to reality. This time is no exception. Let's first consider where our suffering comes from. Have you thought about what causes your suffering? I'm sure you have. Because each of us is trapped by suffering. We are not strangers to suffering at all. Each of us experiences various forms of suffering. We cannot obtain what we want, while what we don't want comes rushing at us. We've tried many methods to avoid it, but always in vain. We've also tried analyzing it, but according to our habitual thinking patterns, our contemplation won't lead us to find the real cause. We'll blame others for our suffering. We'll think that suffering is caused by others. We'll think it's caused by a certain person or certain event, by our family of origin or gender discrimination, or even by the aggressive policies of the Trump administration. In any case, it's not caused by ourselves. I must say, this is a thought that combines both self-protection and self-justification. This thought cleverly and ingeniously shirks the responsibility that belongs to ourselves, directing the culprit toward a target that we could never possibly find and conquer. This idea of blaming suffering on the influence of external things received the most widespread promotion in the 20th and 21st centuries, was universally accepted by society, and entrenched itself in everyone's mind. Everyone searches for the causes of their distress according to this way of thinking. From a broader perspective, they blame the cause on the greed of capital, on immigration policies, on inflation and exploitation by bosses. From a smaller perspective, they blame the cause on the other person not listening to them seriously, not acting according to their ideas, not putting the toothpaste back in its place after brushing their teeth every time, and not giving feelings equivalent in measure to their own. Since the early 19th century, Americans have been trying to combat various causes they believe led to suffering and injustice, with landmark events including the Boston printers' strike and the Pullman strike. To this day, many people still believe their suffering is caused by these greedy people and are still working toward this. So you can still see many people on American streets holding signs expressing anger. Besides wanting to reclaim from capitalists what rightfully belongs to them, they've also invented various systems and things like automatic coffee machines and forklifts to avoid possible suffering. As for expectations and transformation of others, this pulling and mutual transformation between individuals has never stopped in human history. I believe we were doing this in the time of Kasyapa Buddha, doing this when Nagarjuna and Asanga lived in the world. So in the Trump era we will do the same. This is the result of us ordinary people exploring suffering. We blame all problems on other people and things, believing all problems are caused by these external factors. So each of us tries hard to change others, to change the external environment. We've been doing this for a long time, but with little effect. We won't think it's because we haven't found the right direction, because almost everyone we can see is doing the same thing. We'll think it's our own problem, that we haven't done enough, that we haven't gotten enough. So we can only keep doing this. Keep fighting with others and with the world. According to the Dharma, all our suffering is not caused by others. According to the Dharma, All our suffering is caused by our own mistaken perception. The first thing Shakyamuni Buddha said after his enlightenment was, all sentient beings possess the wisdom and virtuous qualities of the Tathagata, but because of delusion and attachment they cannot realize it. This statement is extremely profound. We probably shouldn't expect to understand its meaning in the short term, but we can explain a little about what delusion is. Basically, we can understand delusion as affixing characteristics and labels that things don't inherently possess onto things. Just like you think this is a yellow sticky note, but neither yellow nor sticky note is its true appearance. It's certainly not paper either. Its true appearance is beyond words and inconceivable, while yellow and sticky note are completely human-made concepts we've affixed, having nothing to do with it itself. Going further, even the thing we're labeling doesn't exist for a single moment in the way we think it does. It's completely not the kind of existence we think it is, but we think it exists. We think it exists. Think they exist. We not only think they exist, we also label them, dividing them into good and bad, big and small, useful and useless, beautiful and ugly, our people and not our people. It is this mistaken perception that plunges us deep into suffering, prevents us from being free, prevents us from obtaining the happiness we desire. So, do you understand now? Why do we need to transform perception? It's because all our suffering comes from our mistaken perception of the world. This mistaken perception has lingered for a long time and is extremely solid. Changing it is almost impossible. It is said that when Shakyamuni Buddha had just attained enlightenment, he felt it was almost impossible to make people understand what he had realized. He couldn't think of how to make people break free from such a vast and solid illusion to understand that inexpressible reality. So he planned to live out his days alone in the forest. But later, at the request of Brahma and other great deities, he gave up the idea of solitary seclusion and began to spread the Dharma he had realized. Starting from the Four Noble Truths, all the way to the most profound Dzogchen, he designed and created countless methods and theories to counteract and dismantle our ignorance and that solid system of self. Among all these methods for dismantling illusion, Vajrayana's visualization of self and others as deities is one of the most ingenious methods. Visualizing self and others as deities is not about forcing us to imagine a cat as a seal. Rather, it's because it actually was originally a seal, never was a cat. In Ice Age 2, there's a female woolly mammoth who, because she was raised by opossums, always thought she was an opossum. If she discovered an eagle circling in the sky, she would immediately fall down and play dead like an opossum to avoid the eagle's attack. So, can you understand the relationship between this story and Vajrayana? Is she an opossum? Of course not. She was originally a mammoth. It's just that she lived in a world full of opossums. Everyone told her she was an opossum. Everyone taught her the opossum way of life. So she thought she was an opossum. She was originally an elephant. She didn't become an elephant after visualization. She just thought she was an opossum. So she only needs to get used to being an elephant, to exhaust the habit of thinking she's an opossum. Here, the opossum is fabrication, while the elephant is reality. This is the principle of Vajrayana's visualization of self and others as deities. Because you were originally a Buddha, you don't become a Buddha after visualization. Now we are that elephant who thinks she's an opossum. Because almost all the information we receive proves we're opossums, we won't doubt our perception. We believe what NASA and the Lancet tell us. Believe our eyes and brain. Believe our feelings. Believe our cognition. Believe our judgment. So we often fall into various arguments with others. The root lies in our infinite trust in what our perception knows. You might doubt whether organic food in the supermarket is fake. Doubt whether your medical condition is being exaggerated. Doubt whether you were just a bit overly enthusiastic. Doubt Nassim Taleb's radical views. But you won't doubt whether the cat at home is a cat. Won't doubt whether blue is blue. Won't doubt whether that yellow car parked at the community entrance is a car. Because this doesn't fall within the category of things we doubt. These are things that great accomplished beings, like Jendon Chappell or Milarepa or Bodhidharma, would doubt. But according to Buddhism, all our perceptions are based on mistaken cognition. According to Buddhism, a cat was never a cat. A car is not a car. NASA is not NASA. These things we never doubt are what we should doubt most. Many people rush into the world of Vajrayana without any preparation. They receive empowerments, receive oral transmissions, begin practicing these teachings that require a view approaching that of the Buddha to correctly understand and correctly integrate. But they don't have a view approaching the Buddha's. They don't have the Buddha's view, don't have a Satrayana foundation, and more terrifyingly, they also lack a foundation in traditional culture. In the past 100+ years, powerful Western culture has invaded almost all Eastern countries, leaving all traditional cultures and moral systems on the brink of extinction. I remember one year Khyentse Rinpoche wanted to discuss Zhuangzi with his students, but discovered that not one person among them had read Zhuangzi. People living in modern times probably rarely think that the value of Zhuangzi or Confucius surpasses Carnegie. So they haven't read Zhuangzi, haven't studied Satrayana theory either. What they read are books like Sapiens or The Body Keeps the Score. Many people I've encountered who study Vajrayana, probably none of them would spend time reading books like the Analects or Zhuangzi. They are all obsessed with Dakini teachings or Pema Lingpa. They actually look down on even Satrayana. They think they are in contact with the most profound and direct teachings. They don't think they need such low-level knowledge. This is of course not true. In fact, the absence of these theoretical foundations makes understanding pure perception extremely laborious for them, leaves their practice with absolutely no ground to stand on. For those deeply trained by the Western scientific mind, they probably find it hard to understand why everything is a projection of your mind, hard to understand why everything is a deity, why blue has never existed. Their world is cut into small pieces by time and space, replaced by numbers, conceptualized and digitized, framed by various sizes, distances, lengths, and heights, so they don't easily understand that unobstructed reality. If you have a very good Satrayana foundation, if you're very proficient in Mahayana Buddhism, if you have a very good Mahayana foundation, then understanding these things would be relatively much easier for you. But because most modern people entering Vajrayana seriously lack a Satrayana foundation, traditional culture was almost completely absent during their growth. Their minds are filled with algorithms, internet, pop science, pseudopsychology, Voltaire, and various chemical equations. All these are preventing them from establishing true pure perception. I used to often tell students that if you truly understand pure perception, you've actually completed 80% of Vajrayana practice. Whether Dzogchen or generation and completion stage practices, all are built on a full understanding of pure perception. I can't quite imagine how someone who doesn't understand pure perception could practice Vajrayana, but many people practice Vajrayana just like this. They completely don't understand Satrayana, don't have a Mahayana foundation, but are practicing Vajrayana with their extremely westernized concepts. If you're someone who solidly believes all phenomena truly exist, someone who thinks their perception is incomparably real, someone tightly bound by chemistry, evolution theory, Newton's second law, and Euler's identity, you think everything is as you believe it to be. Think now is the 2020s of the 21st century. You're a married human. You have a wife who loves shopping and arguing. You believe in big data. Believe in black swan theory. You're firm and don't doubt your cognition at all. If you're this kind of person, you'll find it very difficult to enter Vajrayana practice. Someone like this will probably understand visualizing self and others as deities as some kind of strange definition of the world by marginal Far Eastern culture, a manifestation of exotic customs. The many Tibetan-style appearances and rituals of Vajrayana further deepen this cognition and impression of theirs. In fact, Vajrayana teachings have nothing to do with geography. They don't belong to any culture, don't belong to any ethnic group. They only concern the way of perceiving reality. It's just that in the process of transmission they are often bundled with culture, which creates various misunderstandings. For deeply contaminated people like us, we're bound by various kinds of knowledge and concepts. We think Microsoft, saxophones, and Wong Kar-wai are all real existences. So we find it hard to understand why you and the soup you're drinking and the spoon are all deities. We've been taught we're humans, carbon-based life forms. The spoon is ceramic, and the soup is a composite product of water and bones, salt and various seasonings. So what relationship do they have with deities? Why should we see them as the same thing as that wrathful deity hanging on the wall? We'll have this kind of doubt. We have this kind of doubt because we've always been taught that most superficial cognition of things, and we've long been accustomed to this most superficial cognition of things. We stop there. Stop at the labeling cognition of things. We've never thought that a lemon might contain 100,000 universes. This labeling cognition provides us with the basic method of identifying things, but makes us more and more distant from the reality of things. We've been wrapped and driven by mistaken perception for many years, so we'll think things are just as we see them. A lemon is a lemon. A doghouse is a doghouse. This isn't strange at all. But if you've previously accumulated great merit, that merit will stir within you at some moment, will make you begin to doubt all this. You'll have some doubt about your perception. You'll doubt what they really are. You'll want to investigate the truth of things. You won't submit obediently to the publicly recognized perception of the masses. Some popular views hold that these are all useless matters, metaphysical matters, things philosophers should worry about, of no help to our actual lives, so not worth our time to investigate. I admit that investigating the essence of things is far less tempting than researching how to invest and manage finances over the next 10 years. The latter can bring more intuitive benefits. But basically, if you have foresight and a certain degree of merit, you'll agree this is the only method you can use to avoid suffering. All our suffering comes from our mistaken perception of the world. Because the world is composed of our perceptions. Our various perceptions participate together in creating our world. Because it's composed of various mistaken perceptions, it cannot be right. The various theories it derives cannot possibly be right either, because they are all built on the mistaken assumption that you think yourself and lemons and juices all truly exist. So we inhale and chew entirely on these theories. How could we possibly live correctly and joyfully here? Our mistaken perceptions compose our world, compose our cognition of the world and various life logics. Because it's wrong, it necessarily brings suffering. Those who have mistaken cognition of the world, people like William the Conqueror or Voltaire, Deleuze and Leah Halton, they've been sharing their views of the world with the masses, which has created even more widespread and vast suffering. You know what? When you sit here, thinking yourself truly exists, thinking all phenomena truly exist, your suffering begins to be manufactured. You think the chicken leg you're gnawing on, the chair under your bottom, and the wool carpet under your feet all truly exist. Your definitions of and cognition of and interactions with all things together compose an extremely complex and intricate, seemingly real world with very real experiential sensations and feelings. This illusory world has at least 8 billion supporters on our planet. All of them don't doubt its authenticity in the slightest. This world is firmly pasted on your face, seals your senses, takes over all the forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and mental objects you contact and interpret them, preventing you from feeling or extracting even a bit of what's real. The task of Vajrayana is to shatter these cognitions of ours, shatter our illusion that stockings, tea bags, and F-35 lightning eyes all truly exist. This is a quite arduous task, also a very daunting task. How do you make a person understand that the coffee they are drinking and themselves are actually the mandala of the Buddha, are both Manjushri? Not understand theoretically, but be completely convinced, without any doubt. This is quite challenging work. By comparison, making them believe excrement can be eaten might actually be easier after all. This is still within the logical scope of ordinary people's thinking and understanding. But coffee is Manjushri. This almost provokes all the education we've received. So this is extremely difficult. You need immense merit and long-term practice resilience to possibly achieve it. If you could see how masters of the past changed others' perceptions bit by bit, making a person go from thinking all phenomena are real to realizing all phenomena are empty, you'd develop infinite respect for them. You see the tens of thousands of paths they designed for various capacities, from carrying water and pounding rice to offering 1,000 lamps, to mantra recitation and meditation to sacrificing rest time to do things that seem completely meaningless. You can see how they dismantled bit by bit our mistaken perception of the world, led us to approach reality, and you'll know what great courage and patience this requires. Of course, this isn't something that can be achieved through one-sided effort. Besides the teacher, the student must also invest tremendous sincerity and long-term interaction. True Guru Yoga is all-round, multi-angle training, not the singular theoretical transmission and actual practice generally understood. In true Guru Yoga, any interaction between the teacher and you might be striking your wheel of samsara, until one day a crack appears in it. Many people, because they don't understand practice, waste many practice opportunities. They understand practice as singular theoretical teaching and actual practice. Many people's imagined practice is just the teacher transmitting the teachings to them. They go back and practice well, and that's okay. But how could practice be so simple? Let me say it again. True Guru Yoga is all-round, multi-angle training, requiring long-term interaction. But most people don't have the opportunity to truly engage in this kind of all-round, multi-angle training, because they lack experience with interaction. Even if they encounter it, they can't react in time. They'll miss much true practice and focus on those unimportant things they consider practice. They don't know the profundity of the Dharma, can't comprehend the Guru's techniques. Sometimes what you think is daily life is actually practice. What you think is practice might just be increasing your ego. Someone told me they went to visit their teacher. That whole afternoon, the teacher was busy and didn't say a single word to them. They sat there all afternoon without receiving any teachings. They felt they'd made the trip for nothing. Because their merit wasn't sufficient, they missed a practice opportunity. If they had sufficient merit, that afternoon would have been a beautiful afternoon. The teacher didn't say a word. This itself was great teaching and blessing. You think something must be done between you. Something must be recited. His hand must be placed on your head for blessing. Otherwise the trip would be wasted. But the truth might not be so. Because you think you made the trip for nothing. You truly made the trip for nothing. If you knew how to practice, Sitting there would also be merit. He doesn't need to talk to you, doesn't need to direct his gaze at you. If you could appreciate all this would be merit. All would be acts dismantling your ordinary appearances. What I call all-round training doesn't mean you'll be called up at 4 a.m. to practice or prepare food for everyone, but rather that you can correctly understand all the Guru's words and actions, can practice at all times and in all places. If you can do this, then every matter, every thought can become an opportunity for you to observe your own selfish habitual patterns and attachment points. Sometimes we might need to do something. Need to prepare food, need to dust Buddha statues, need to polish the Guru's shoes, but other times, everyone doing nothing together and watching the sunset is also training. Such training might test your patience and faith, dismantle your mistaken definition of practice. For 99% of people living in modern society, pure perception is very difficult to understand. Because it differs enormously from our direct experience, is almost diametrically opposite to what we're used to, and is almost completely detached from the moral and ethical system and all the theories we're daily accustomed to using to mutually support, relate, and reflect each other. So it's extremely difficult to understand, extremely difficult for our narrow minds to accept. It deconstructs size, deconstructs distance, deconstructs time and space, deconstructs inside and outside, deconstructs numbers, deconstructs our habitual lives, deconstructs every single thing you think exists, makes all things that seem completely unrelated all become deities, become emptiness and luminosity. To understand pure perception, you must first understand that all things are projections of your own mind, are your fabrications. I'm not saying your mind created all things. I'm saying the all things you perceive are created by your mind, and how your mind defines things depends on the various influences and education you receive daily. Even with the same thing, our feelings about it are completely different, but usually we all agree a cat is a cat. But as to what kind of cat it is, everyone might have different views. This precisely proves that the cat you perceive is only the cat you perceive. Proves we only see the cat we ourselves perceive. This is the principle of pure perception. We all only see our own contaminated projections. From the Vajrayana viewpoint, compared to thinking a cat is a cat and thinking it's Vajrayogeny, the latter is actually more true cognition. It's just that we're all used to thinking it's a cat, so this Vajrayana cognition seems especially rebellious. But for Vajrayana masters, thinking it's a cat is the strange idea, because it never was for a second the kind of existence you think it is. It was never a cat, always was Vajrayogeny. If you can understand this kind of Vajrayana theory, can bear this kind of theory, can accept that it always was Vajrayogeny, you can gradually expand the same cognition to all things. From your dental floss to Hegel's books to your thoughts, they are all Buddhas, all deities. In the short term you might not get used to this kind of thinking, but if you can continue, you'll gradually get used to it. Think carefully. Our cognition of all things also went through the same process. Went through not knowing what it is, to knowing what it is, to being familiar with it, to not even needing to think and just glancing to know what it is. So if we can get used to a cat being a cat, then through training we can get used to it being Samantabhadra. Basically, this is the same process. If we can understand its Samantabhadra, is Vajrayogeny, we can understand all things completely lack essence. If we can often rest ourselves in this cognition, then the various habits of defining all things, connecting all things, making them interact and mutually prove each other to create the sense of reality of samsara will begin to collapse. Your cat is Samantabhadra. Your cup is Samantabhadra. The water in the cup is Samantabhadra. So there's no such thing as you picking up a cup of tea and taking a sip. Because whether it's you're the teacup or you're taking a sip of tea, all completely lack essence. Samantabhadra is the union of appearance and emptiness, is the non-duality of basis and awareness. You are Samantabhadra, the teacup and tea are two. You are neither one nor two, neither the same nor different. Here, all mundane definitions and logic lose their foothold. Things like Marilyn Monroe, the first law of thermodynamics, the Russia-Ukraine war, Gemini 3, and Greta Thunberg all vanish without a trace. When you gradually get used to these, can often rest in such pure perception, you can understand why Milarepa saw not a single phenomenon. Can understand the sixth patriarch's originally not a single thing. All appearances are manifest yet without self-nature. There's no Elon Musk's rockets, no Mercedes S-Class, no you taking a sip of hot tea, no the bacon being a bit hard this morning, no hidden folders on your phone, no Saul Goodman, no self and others, no opposition, no insecurity, no violence and no war. Basically, we first have self, then have others, then have all things, have what I like and what I don't like, what I want to distance myself from and what I want to be close to, have colors, have sizes, have noble and base, have high and low. Having these, suffering arises from this.